Hey, what's going on, guys? Horror Man back with a video response to Mood 616, showcasing my top 10 favorite horror anthology movies. Moods recently posted a video showcasing his top 10 favorite horror anthology movies. I thought it was a great idea. It's one that I've thought about in the past as well, but I just never got around to filming the video. So I thought this would be a perfect opportunity to post the video as a response to him. If you guys have not subscribed to Moods, please go do so. I will leave his link below. He's a really cool guy, great YouTuber. He's got an awesome channel. Please go check out his videos, leave some comments, show the guy some support. Before I get into my top 10, please keep in mind that as with any other list that I do, this is not set in stone, it's not definitive, and this can change at any time. I tried to include some titles that Moods did not include in his video, and also some titles that really don't get mentioned a lot. A lot of these probably wouldn't actually be in my top 10 list of horror anthologies, but as I said, I tried to change it up a little bit by including some titles that don't get a lot of talk, don't get mentioned a lot, so that's why you'll see some titles on here that probably originally wouldn't be in my top 10 list. My number 10 pick goes to Dead Time Stories. This one has 3 different tales, I believe. Haven't seen this one in a long time, but I do remember it being pretty cheesy. Not all that great, pretty poor quality, but it did have its moments. I remember enjoying it, so it was definitely worth a mention in here. As I said, I'm trying to include some movies that don't get talked about a lot, and this is definitely one of them. Number 9, The Monster Club. This is a very rare DVD, very expensive now, out of print for a while, but it's a big one. I mean, it stars Vincent Price, John Carradine, Donald Pleasence, Britt Ekland, just some really, really big names in this movie. You know, it says, in the tradition of The House That Dripped Blood and Tales from the Crypt. You know, it definitely has that same style feel, but it's also tongue-in-cheek. You know, as it says right down here, actually, a tongue-in-cheek trilogy of terror. It has its scarier moments, if you want to call them that, and it has its tongue-in-cheek moments. But definitely one worth seeking out, especially just for the talent that appears in this movie. And as I said, this is a very rare DVD, so if you guys do come across it, definitely pick up a copy. Number 8. Goes to this movie right here, Dead of Night. This is a 2-disc set from Anchor Bay. Extremely, extremely rare. Very, very valuable DVD set. But yeah, Dead of Night is just one of the oldest horror anthologies around. Really classic film. Very creepy scene, as you see right here. It's one of the first killer ventriloquist dummy doll movies. So if you guys are into that sort of thing, this is definitely a movie worth seeking out. I believe it's from the 30s, so of course it's a black and white film. You gotta know what to expect when you're watching it. But yeah, I believe it has 2 or 3 different stories in this one. Really, really cool. I remember really enjoying this one. And again, if you guys ever come across this DVD, definitely pick it up. Next, from Stephen King and Clive Barker, Quicksilver Highway. 2 different stories, written and directed by Mick Garris. Pretty cool. Stephen King seems to do a lot of horror anthologies. Cat's Eye is another one I was thinking about including, but I didn't because I already include this one, and I'm going to be including another Stephen King title later on in my list. So, decided to go with Quicksilver Highway instead of Cat's Eye. I really enjoyed this one. I love Stephen King and Clive Barker as well, and Mick Garris has some pretty good horror movies. There's a few that aren't so great, but I seem to enjoy just about all of them. So, yeah, Quicksilver Highway, again, another one that's out of print, but definitely worth seeking out if you can find it. Next, number 6, Campfire Tales. Yet again, another out-of-print DVD. A more modernized kind of version of horror anthology. It says in tradition of Scream and I Know What You Did Last Summer. I guess in a way, I mean, maybe just because of the cast. It's a very familiar cast. You have Amy Smart, Ron Livingston, Christine Taylor, and James Marsden in this. I like this one, though, because it has a slasher element to it as well, which is really cool. It has 3 different stories as well as a tie-in story, which is really cool. So really like this one, really cool, and out of all the out-of-print DVDs I've shown, this is probably the most readily available, even though it's still pretty hard to find. So chances are you may be able to find this one at some point if you're looking for it. Just keep looking. I only came across this maybe a couple months ago and was really glad to find it. Moving on to the top 5 now. First we have John Carpenter Presents Body Bags. Once again, another out-of-print DVD, very rare. I know a lot of people are after this one. And this is just a great horror anthology. I mean, it's a lot of fun. It's not the best 3 stories you'll ever see in a horror anthology, but of course they're still worth seeking out. I mean, it's still worth a watch. Really cool stories. It's cool seeing John Carpenter in a role. And, as I said, just really, really fun stories. Nothing too scary, nothing too silly, but it's kind of a good balance in this movie. So yeah, I know a lot of people are after this one, as I said, and Moods, since this is a video response to you, I just want to let you know that a copy of this is on its way to you. So I believe this is one that you don't have. Hopefully, you'll be happy with it. I'm sending you a bunch of stuff, so I'm not trying to spoil your package because, there's a bunch of other surprises in there, but this is the one that's heading your way, so hopefully you'll enjoy that. Moving on to number 4 now, we have Tales from the Crypt. Now, Vault of Horror is another one, another great horror anthology, but for whatever reason, I'm not going to mention that one either. I'm going to do the same thing Moods did and mention Tales from the Crypt. And this is definitely one of my favorite horror anthologies. Number 4 on my list, as you can see. Just really love Tales from the Crypt. I love the TV series, and I love the movie as well. They really picked 5 great stories to showcase in this movie version, and I really, really enjoy it. For a movie made in the early 70s, it really holds up today, and I still enjoy watching it from time to time. Moving on to the top 3 now. We have The Willies. Absolutely love this one. This is just so much fun. It's a bunch of really short stories in the beginning, and then 2, main stories, and then 1 giant tie-in story. Of course, Sean Astin plays one of the kids in this. Jerry Miller also plays in this. Jerry Miller is from Growing Pains, if you guys know. But yeah, really cool movie. Moods mentioned this one as well. I know this movie gets a lot of mentions on here, but I wanted to include it anyway because it is one of my absolute favorite horror anthologies. I always really loved not the old lady, but the lady who's eating the fried chicken at the restaurant, and she bites into it and realizes it's a rat. For some reason, that always stuck with me, and yeah, I just really enjoyed this movie. Moving on to number 2 now, Creepshow 2. Now, Moods had Creepshow, the original one, as his number 1 pick for in his top 10 horror anthologies. I gotta go with Creepshow 2. Now, I love the original Creepshow as well. Great stories in that one. But for some reason, I watched Creepshow 2 more growing up. It's only 3 stories in this one, but I love all 3 of them. You have Old Sheep Woodenhead, The Hitchhiker, and The Raft are all the 3 stories in here. And I don't know, I always loved The Raft growing up. I thought that was a great story. Almost like reminds me of The Blob. It always kind of reminded me of the 88 version of The Blob remake, which was another movie I grew up watching. So maybe that's why I enjoyed this one so much too. But yeah, it just has some really classic scenes in here. I mean, The Hitchhiker, the thanks for the ride lady with the sign. I always remember that one as well. And just a really, really fun movie. And I really like the tie-in story in this one as well, too. And finally, my number 1 pick. Moods already knows what it is. Most of you probably already know. Trick or Treat. Definitely one of the most modern. I think it actually is the most modern out of all the titles I've shown for horror anthologies. Absolutely love this movie. I love everything about it, every story, just everything. I mean, it's just amazing. It has one of the greatest Halloween movie atmospheres you will ever see. I don't think it can ever be contested when it comes to that. As I said, definitely the greatest atmosphere for a Halloween movie. If you guys have not seen Trick or Treat, go check it out. I mean, I've seen this thing in $5 bins now, so, it's definitely worth picking up, especially for that price. So yeah, that's it for my top 10, guys. I have no honorable mentions. I know Moods did show a few, but, most of my honorable mentions would probably be movies that Moods already showed, so yeah, this is it for now, guys. Comment below, let me know what you think, and thanks for watching.